Welcome back to Absolutely Marvel and DC. I'm Tiny Benny, and that is Super Large Hussid. Today we're going to be talking about Last of Us, episode 2.
Wait, don't call me that.
No,
Jeez,
I'm going
man.
camera angles, man. Camera angles.
God, no, you just.
Why are you getting
you're always
sensitive?
feeding at my insecurities, Ben.
Why are you getting sensitive? Stop being sensitive. It's okay. It's okay.
I lost 8 pounds while I was sick this week.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations.
Thanks, man. I'm
So today
15
we're gonna
down
be
from the year. Sorry, I thought it. That's
No,
fine.
no, dude, go ahead. I mean, I'm sure our audience. I mean, this is like podcast format, man. Our audience loves you. They hate me. They
I'm
want to
15
crap on
pounds
me.
down since the year started. 6 of those pounds healthily lost at the gym. 8 of those pounds, I was sick and I was feverish and I just laid in bed.
You must still be
all day.
feverish because 6 and 8 don't add up to 15.
No, it does not. And I'm trying to. It's 14. Yeah. Okay. So 14 pounds down.
You're still sick, aren't you?
But I watched The Last of Us.
All right, so real quick, though, today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, Into the AM. You can get great shirts like this one. I actually really like this one. This is an owl that's black and white, but it goes into color down here. So I think it's a cool design. They come up with a lot of cool, awesome designs. Use the code ABSOLUTELY right down below. Go ahead and click on through. Super comfortable shirts. And if you don't like designs, you can get, which seriously are my favorite shirts, blank. Because I ordered like 5 of these blank just to wear for the days I need a blank shirt. So
It
just
looks
the
like a
qualities of-
Furby.
Now I don't like this. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it really does. Like I was like staring at it for a while. I was wondering what I thought it was. It's a Furby.
Ha, Hassandai.
I hated that thing. I stuck
All
a
right.
pencil in its mouth and I called it a day.
So if this is your first time joining us for a Last of Us review, I have played the entirety of the first game, and I'm currently on a playthrough of it a second time right now. I've not played Last of Us 2, but I will play it because apparently it's going to be Season 2. But Hussid has not played the games at all. So we thought this would be a fun review segment because he's getting TV viewer vibes and I'm getting game vibes. So I'm going to explain some of the differences from the game in this episode because they did things differently, okay? But let's start with, what do you think about episode 2?
Fantastic. Terrifying, like the zombie sequence, and you can call them infected or whatever you want. They're zombies. That's what zombies are. They're probably the coolest design for zombies I've seen in ages. Like genuinely bone-chillingly horrifying designs, but it was
Like that cluster look coming out of their face.
yeah.
with the
Oh my
clickers.
God, I hate that. That's
Yeah.
like I hate that.
The design. I
love-
loved the designs for that though. It looks so
Yeah.
terrifying.
Oh, it's so terrifying. And then also the reveal that like they can't see you, but they can hear because
Yeah.
they don't have eyes anymore or whatever. That was really awesome because it really added to the tension of it because you kind of knew that the girl was gonna do something or bump something somehow and they're gonna get in the middle of like they're gonna get attacked. But it was just so terrifying. And there's such heavy consequences. Obviously, in every zombie apocalypse show, they kind of make it clear that a lot of the characters are disposable via like, the mechanism that is the story, that lots of people will die, and that's just how things work, like The Walking Dead before. So I don't tend to watch shows like that. This one just feels like it has a heart to it, and the only characters that in my brain are surviving until they won't are Ellie and Joel. So everybody else, I've always been kind of like, this is a disposable person, whatever. But even her death, it was beautiful because she didn't have anything to live for. They don't tie her down with an emotional weight of like, please save the future so my grandkids or my son or my nephew or my niece, just save it because it might finally be over if you save it. So I was really, really locked in during the whole episode.
I thought this episode was great. Some of the biggest changes were how the cordyceps virus spreads and communicates, and they also changed Tess's actual death. That was actually changed from the video game.
Yeah, I heard they added quite a bit to her as a character throughout this. They padded her out a lot.
Actually, I don't think they did. I felt there was more to her in the game overall.
Really?
Yeah, you spend about, I'd say, 3 or 4 hours with her at that point.
Really?
Where
Wow.
the show at this point, we're like, what, an hour and 15 minutes in? Because it's the second half of the first episode, and then we get this episode where we
I thought they really elongated her storyline. I guess I was off on that.
Yeah, well, that's why we're talking about. It's a little bit different. So I actually loved the changes they made. So the first thing they did is they explained where the flower thing in the intro. So I loved that we got like that zombie scientific thing where it was a flower plant in, was it Indonesia? Was that where they were at?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that sequence was crazy. It was crazy to watch. It was heartbreaking.
Yeah. And so that was never explained in the video game. And if you actually look at the podcast, the reason they never explained where the virus came from in the video game is they just didn't need to. There was no reason to explain it better. So it was hinted at in like newspaper articles and stuff like that. But the show solidifies, because if you go back to episode 1, I saw this in some of the stuff, none of the main characters touch anything that used flour. They conveniently didn't have the pancakes. They conveniently didn't have the cake. They didn't touch anything that had flour in it for that whole day. So they didn't get the virus. That's how it was. That they were implying that basically like the old lady got the virus from having the cookies that were in the house.
Wow.
So stuff like that.
That's terrifying. I'm not eating cookies anymore. Everything about like the visualization of it was really, really scary, honestly. And I really hate fungus and stuff like that in general, just like in nature.
Oh God, you must be hating this.
Yeah, it's like my two worst fears smushed together with beautiful color grading. Also, notice that this is a zombie apocalypse show, and they're not destroying it with color grading. They're not like making it this drawn out thing. That said, in Indonesia, which is a beautiful country, we're doing this thing that we do in every TV show that it's more of a gripe with general television, but I'm going to say it here. Yeah, this sepia tone. Other countries exist that are beautiful. The U.S. is like the only one that's ever shown in bright colors. Everyone else is like sepia tone. If you're in England, it's like gray tone. If you're in Mexico, it's super sepia tone. I hate that.
I agree with you 100%. Having been overseas, like, because I've been to Singapore, I've been over to Iraq, I've been to Afghanistan. You know, I've been to a lot of locations over there, and I spent a good amount of time in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Singapore. Whenever we go over there in movies, it's always like in yellow grade. Cool. Yeah. And you go over there and you're like, I'll tell you right now, Afghanistan is a beautiful country. I love that the visuals in that country. The people were hit or miss, but you know, I loved the visuals in that country.
Yeah.
Hit or miss being the key word there. Anyway.
No. I got that, Benny. I didn't need you to say that twice. No, and like Singapore is beautiful and it's vibrant.
Yeah, Singapore is beautiful.
Indonesia is stupidly beautiful.
I've literally told Natalie, like, because we're trying to plan out some vacations. We're going to try to go to Greece this year.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, the one after that I want to bring you to Singapore because that place is incredible. Like, I really think you should come to Singapore. So
yeah. In Indonesia, so for those of you who like don't have a grasp of it, you will have a grasp of Bali because Bali's so popular as like a tourist destination. That is Indonesia. That like beautiful place that you see TikTokers and YouTubers and PewDiePie went on his honeymoon there, like that place, that's Bali, and it's not in freaking sepia tone. It's Indonesia. It's not gross looking. So
your eyes don't magically start seeing everything in yellow when you get over there.
Yeah, and I think movies, and they always do it as like a visual distinction to show this is a different place. I think we should grow out of that as filmmakers, and other than that, these filmmakers have been incredibly innovative. They're using prosthetics for most of the zombies.
Well, yeah,
they definitely are.
Well, so anyway, I want to move to the next thing. So one of the another big change that they did in this was they explained, and I felt this was a really good idea, actually. It's a debate about it, but in the show, the cordyceps are underground and can communicate with the different hordes. And in my opinion, that's a great excuse for a game mechanic where once one of the zombie monster thingies sees you, they all see you and rush you. But in the video game, you're just like, oh no, shit, I did it. You don't think about it. But in the show, they're giving a reason so that rush can happen, and it doesn't, and people don't question it. I like
the hive mind effect. I dig it.
Did you?
Yeah, the hive mind stuff is really, really cool. I feel like the vague stuff I do remember from The Last of Us, that's like just seeing clips or whatever of it from years and years ago in the game. I think there was more of this push to have like it be airborne, and I'm glad they didn't do it that way because airborne viruses don't sit stagnant in one area. They move so much. So, like, I don't remember what it was. I feel like I saw one thing where people had to wear, like, hazmat masks or whatever to go in those areas.
In the game, the way it spreads is through bites and spores. But the spores just linger in an area. They don't go anywhere. And that was one of the things they said in the post after the credits thing. They were like, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense in reality, that the spores would linger and not move or transfer or things like that. So that was one of the reasons they wanted to move it to the cordyceps underground thing, so there's more stuff going on.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great fix. That's a great plot fix. And, yeah, everything else that went on with it. I think Bella Ramsey's so good. She has this, like, youthful tone to her that while she doesn't really look the role of Ellie, for sure, I don't think it matters. And in the same vein, Joel doesn't really look like Pedro Pascal.
No,
but their performances are great.
It is a little jarring. Ellie is not so much. I don't know why it's not so much. I'm not a huge fan of Bella Ramsey, but I think she's doing a passable job of the character of Ellie. And it might just be because Ellie gets so much more growth in the game. Because Ellie goes from being small and timid and wanting nothing a part of it to being that F you, I'm doing. Like, we get to see that growth. And Bella Ramsey, I feel like, has just jumped into later half.
Yeah.
Like, she's just jumped ahead of the growth of the character.
And I think it's because they're going to do flashbacks, right? Because you said that there was something from a DLC sequence that shows her get bitten.
Yeah, they showed it in the where she got bit is in a DLC sequence. That there's a scene from it in the trailers for what's coming this season.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're going to reveal it or whatever, because it also looks like the next episode, and I'm going to talk about Bill and Frank in a second, because I want you to go into this with a little bit of knowledge on Bill and Frank.
Yeah. They're great. I mean, he's going to be played by Ron Swanson. So
yeah.
Nick Offerman's going to play him.
So it's interesting because so Bella Ramsey for me is passable, but she's not like, oh my God, greatest thing ever. I'm hoping that she just kind of grows in me. But it is for some reason jarring for me going from Joel to Pedro Pascal and back, because I'm playing the game while I'm watching this. So it's like,
yeah, no. And I see, so, as a just TV viewer alone, I don't have an issue with Ellie at all. Like, it'd be cool if they did the texture of like showing her get out of her shell a little bit, but
right.
I'm totally okay with them not doing that. I think there was like more pressing things to do, and I'm sure they'll show it in a flashback sequence. Like, in the flashback sequence, maybe she'll be more timid and then like have a reason to just like be wild after that. But
yeah,
I see why like watching them adventure together and then get that dynamic would be fun. But I think, with the casting comes a territory of like a character will be inherently different based on who plays them. I've seen at least pictures of the game, and that actress or that face actress or face model for Ellie is a lot softer and less gruff. And I think that once you get a gruff face behind it, it would be kind of weird to see this version of Ellie be that timid, sweet girl. It's almost like she's meant to be gruff this go around. Regardless, I'm having fun. I like her performance. I don't know. It's something about having experienced Bella Ramsey in other roles. The tone of voice she uses when she's Ellie, it's not. Sometimes it's obstinate and angry, but it's not like all out aggressive. And I kind of thought that's the character we were gonna get. Like, get the F off me, Joel. I'm done with you guys. Like a go on.
Well, she doesn't do that in the game. She gets really attached to Joel pretty early on. And what the game is all about, Joel learning to accept somebody, like, because of his
somebody other
Sarah.
than her daughter.
Right.
Yeah.
And like that's a lot. The game's journey is, I always found Last of Us 1 to be Joel's journey, to overcome his grief and accept Ellie. And then Ellie's perspective was this young girl who doesn't know anything. Playing through the game, and I've been doing a lot of the collectibles to try and get a platinum trophy. If you just let them talk, that's stuff I never did the first time around. They just have random conversations. One of the funniest things is Ellie gets a joke book mid-game. And if you linger in areas, she'll start telling jokes, but she doesn't get them. Like, she makes a joke about pizza, but she's never had pizza. So she doesn't get the joke. So like that kind of growth for Ellie is really good. And I feel like we're missing that in the show, because you don't really get this vibe of she's never been around. We had like a moment of that, like when she was at the hotel, that she was trying to play the game, but she doesn't know how it's supposed to be. She only knows what she's been told, because so much time has passed since that world was a reality. Yeah. So that's like the game itself is Joel overcoming the grief, and then Ellie learning how the world was. There's a whole like a whole sequence. It's like a minute long, where they discuss the concept of an ice cream truck, 2 kids. And the ice cream truck discussion ends with Ellie not believing that a truck rode around and gave them ice cream. And Joel being like, no, that happened. And her response was, your world is weird. But like, it was the key, your world. Like, that she is just from a different time, and she's accepting things around her. So we got that with the hotel sequence, like at the very, very beginning, but we're not getting enough of it, in my opinion, to really see the stark differences between Joel overcoming his grief and Ellie accepting this world that she's never been a part of.
Yeah. Well, we have 8 episodes, and they're like long.
Oh, yeah.
They're long episodes of television, so there's a good chance we'll get to see some semblance of that for you. So far, I'm pretty satisfied.
There's one more big change that I want to talk about. There's one more big change. The test death. So in the game, when they attack the guards at the very beginning, that becomes the first 4 hours of the game. The guards are chasing you the whole game. So at the end, the guards kill Tess. They show up. She has a shootout with them. The problem is, on a gameplay perspective, you're almost led to believe that the guards and the police and the military are the problem. They almost never show back up after that. So so that's actually one thing they said in the Last of Us podcast. They were like, yeah, we wanted to change that because the cordyceps virus is more of a threat, and we wanted that to be because we only have 9 episodes to build the threat.
Yeah,
so
that's a much bigger. It's a much bigger emotional through line.
Yeah, instead of having the military show up and then shoot tests, and then the military never comes back. Like,
no, that was awesome. I also thought the sequence, instead of like the zombies how they usually are, they're just like ripping people apart. Just kissing Tess to give her the virus was really weird.
That was weird.
Haunting.
They don't ever do that in the game. I don't know.
It was haunting. It was like scary. That's what it was.
The way it was.
Yeah, for me, it was because it's like the freaking spores are coming out of her mouth, and it's like it's that over her being mauled. Either way, she has to die, and she's trying so hard to get that lighter off. Yeah, and it's weird because their guns like shoot the floor and it'll spark because that's how that works. But whatever.
So that's not how it works. But okay.
Okay, if you shoot a gun at a pile of gasoline, it's not going to explode?
No, traditionally it will not.
Okay, well, I know nothing about guns. So. Military guy,
that's a movie thing. That's generally, you could get lucky, just like I could drop a gun and it luckily goes off and takes out my enemy. I mean, that could happen.
Or there's grenades everywhere. You could shoot one of the grenades.
I'll give you that. The grenade would have worked.
Yeah. Thought it was great. When she was just slapping the box of grenades on the ground, I was like, those are grenades. What the made you think they wouldn't just accidentally explode? Like,
I think there's even a Mythbusters episode on that where they tried shooting gasoline.
Okay, I need to look at that up.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. But anyway, yeah, so that's what's going on with that. Now, there's one thing I want to talk about coming up, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play this out. So, Bill is going to be the big character. That's basically Ron Swanson, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to spoil.
I thought his name was Frank.
No, there's Bill and Frank, okay? And stuff has happened between them, but what you discover in the game is that Bill and Frank were a couple. Now, I didn't catch that in my first playthrough. And apparently they wanted it to be vague, and they put in a couple things in so you would know what it was towards the end. On my replay, I caught that. So there's a sequence at the end of the sequence in the game where they're driving away in a car, and Ellie pulls out a porno mag, and I never caught on that it's all men. And then you start to put together that, like, as a viewer watching this game, that Bill and Frank were a couple. They weren't just Bill and Frank the buddies, which is kind of how it is portrayed in the game, the way it's being described, without spoiling what's going to happen. The way it's being described as you're going through the sequence, okay? So at the ending, you discover that they were together. And so I Googled it to see if that was a change to the remaster or if I missed it back in 2009 when the game dropped. Apparently, it was in the game when it first came out. And they actually didn't even want the magazine, but it was decided to more strongly imply that they were actually a couple as opposed to being buddies.
Wow,
so,
I'm excited to watch that.
Well, the reason I bring it up is in the trailer, it shows Frank and Bill have a much larger role and that we're going to go into how they met. So I'm curious how that's good, because you never find out how they met in the game. You show up and all the events have happened. So it looks like we're going to get another flashback sequence. I'm curious how they're going to play that up and how they're going to get more involved. Are we going to leave it to be a subtle thing like it was in the game where I didn't even catch it the first playthrough? Or is it going to be more over, like, here it is. This is the relationship. We want you guys to know there was a relationship. What do you think?
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's that little tidbit of hidden insight is probably really commonplace to game players. So I wonder if just because the game already exists and that story already exists that way, that they will be more overt with it, or they'll be subtle to see if, the what do you call it? The TV viewers catch it the same way the game viewers catch it.
That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if they're going to be like, no, they're a couple. We want you to know that. Or is it going to stay a magazine in the back and like a mention in a note over here and then Ellie finding a porno mag, like, so that you can put it together? Or are they going to just do it?
Somebody in our chat said a flashback sequence, and it just took me out. It just took me out of the whole conversation. Yeah, no, I'm excited to see that. Anything Nick Offerman is, I'll watch. So it's crazy that I'm watching something and Nick Offerman shows up. I think he's super talented.
And I will say, it's going to be a mild spoiler, but Bill's just Ron Swanson. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay, perfect. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted.
The moment I saw the trailer and it was Ron, and it was Nick Offerman, and they didn't say who anyone was. I looked at Natalie. That's Bill. He's going to play Bill.
Love it. I'm excited. I'm very, very excited for it. I also heard, for your Supernatural fans, I was told by somebody this week that Jensen Ackles is in The Last of Us as a corpse. And you have to find the letter or something, but it's the actor Jensen Ackles. It's his corpse. So maybe they'll get Jensen to play a corpse in this. I don't know. That'd be kind of awesome if he has time in his very busy schedule. But yeah, there's your little Supernatural.
All right, so
tidbit.
We're at the end. you are not allowed to read the comments on these videos, and you can't look at the Twitch chat. It's time for Huston's prediction about what's going to happen going forward.
Well, I mean, Frank and Nick are gonna die. I'm assuming. Not Nick. What's the other guy's name? Frank
Bill.
and who?
Frank and Bill.
Yeah, Bill and Frank's excellent adventure is gonna come to an end at some point during the sequence while they're there. I don't know why. I also just like, yeah, I think that's it. I feel like we cannot get attached to any characters that are not Ellie and Joel.
Okay.
And
like I said, I'm giving you no facial. I'm not
Yeah.
confirming nor denying theories. This is for the viewers to enjoy. The weekly.
And even as
Huston-
far as Joel is concerned, I feel like the show is, I don't know, you don't want to kill your leading man, but I feel like I just like have the vibe where like 2 episodes in that he's not necessarily going to be around after this part of the story is being told. Feels like this is the beginning of her story and the end of his. This is the last chapter in a book that was written for him or whatever. We'll see how that plays out, but yeah, that's my like way down by the end of the 10th episode, whatever kind of feelings. So
Okay. I love this in our chat. Episode 3 is just going to be a lot of nude men in porno mags. So that's the subvert. Like, we're not going to say it, but look at all the porno mag collection. If they did that, if they straight up never like overtly said it, but there's just nude men porno mags laid out everywhere, that would be the ultimate nod to how the game handled it. Like,
crazy.
So, all right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this recap of Last of Us Episode 2 and our opinions and views of the whole thing. Let me know what you think down below about his theories. Good, bad. If you've been watching the show, cool. If you played the game, let me know. And we'll see you next week right here for our Last of Us review, because there's nothing else to talk about, baby.
Nothing's on TV.